Today in our exploration, we will go into the depth of releasing very sticky issues that most people face, which is migraine. How to deal with something which is consistently hurting us and repetitive, it has become chronic. So most people tend to take a medicinal route, which is basically suppressing the real cause of what is happening inside our system. So in a yogic understanding, how can migraine be released? So let us go very simple understanding. Wherever there is lack of flow, there is pain, and there is an immense circuitry in our brain, which is, it's like a neurons. There are nerve cells called neurons, and these are sparking, and there are this synaptical firing of neurons, and there is a current passing through the entire brain. It's not much, it's a few millivolts, but yet it has the power to destabilize us for a long drawn method. Okay, so how do we click into alignment with the brain? First and foremost, there is a fragmentation and segregation of the brain, the left and right hemisphere, and the left and right hemisphere usually are not communicating, and there is an incoherence between the left and the right. Since there is an incoherence between left and the right, so the left is processing the logical aspect, the right is processing the creative aspect. So when we want to flow, the creative flow, the logical understanding is how do we click into this knowingness of how to access the flow. So we are trying to crack through a method of how it flows, and eventually what is happening to our brain is that we are not able to bring a certain semblance, a certain equilibrium. So we will discuss today, and we will also apply a practical method of how to take this into a state of flow. First and foremost, very simple understanding, the left and right have to talk, and there is a nerve tissue, a connecting tissue called the corpus callosum. This corpus callosum right in the center of the brain, visualize that it is just like a small gap fissure, and that there's a connective tissue connecting these two, left and right. Okay, so what happens, this ear is like a steering wheel of the brain. When we pull our ears, crosswire your hands, this helps because we are all crosswired, and we pull the earlobe. When we pull the earlobe, automatically the focus comes into the center, equal pressure, left and right together, and then what happens? We have a choice. What do we do with this mechanism now? Two ways of looking at it. One, connect us to the higher flow. You can bring the tongue tip on, it's called the Saraswati Nadi, or into this point called Lalana Chakra, the roof of the palate, which is connecting us to 84 meridian points on the roof of the palate, and that eventually connects us to the hypothalamus, the emotional seat of the brain, and also releases all the tensions that is accumulated over a period of time. So bringing the tongue, deep seated breathing, this is to bring the brain into a state of semblance between the left and the right. And then what happens, if you are doing it quite often, if you can repeat this breathing for say 108 times, inhale and exhale, 108 times, this already there is a semblance between the left and right. And then there's the other option, which is to put a certain pressure into this above the auditory cortex, just where the behind the ears and above the ears, hold it, tight grip, and lift and drop, lift and drop, lift and drop. So what happens when you do this, the brain starts to flow or step into flow. There is a brain flow which is crucial to the knowing, and this the other option is also to press with highest intensity, tight grip, pressure. You can increase the pressure by keeping the elbows square to the body, and then press in. When you press in, the flow becomes more and more intense. You hold it pressed, lift it up, the brain starts to feel the immense pressure, and then collapse, release. The brain will start, even it may not be evident instantly for some people because they have assumed that it's not going to happen. More and more you calibrate the brain, easier it will flow. Third option, it's not really an option, but it's a part of the process. But then which will help you faster, you will have to crack through by your own experimentation and exploration. Here holding one hand at the back of the head and one on the forehead. The thumb and the the rest of the fingers are holding a grip on the, this is called the temporal region of the brain. This clears the amygdala, all the emotions which convert into memories, biomemories. So if you do this very often, what happens is that there is a calibrated flow from the left to right, right to left, and then the whole brain settles down to a state of equanimity and balance. So if you can keep doing this faster with the breath, inhale and exhale completely, allowing this nucleus of the brain to come alive. The more you are in the center of the brain, more the ecstatic nature of the flow. Remember this, static, ecstatic. That means if you can come into the static aspect of the brain, there is an ecstatic flow. Ecstatic flow is intense, dynamic flow. That is called ecstasy. So what is happening is how to raise the frequency of the brain to an ecstatic state. So being in the nucleus of the brain will help. There are multiple stages of understanding this. We are going to go stage by stage to access that knowingness. An important part is also, if you can also do this, put your both the thumb into the cavity of the ear and press the temporal region and do intonation by putting the tongue on the roof of the palate. So this intonation is actually like bringing the brain into an equanimity and equilibrium. All that has been happening in our system is we are not able to calibrate faster because we are out of synchronicity. Sound health means bringing all the atoms together into one frequency. So if there is a disparity in the frequency, we tame it down, tune it down into one frequency, and that's the easiest way to calibrate. So how we can fine tune further is, there is also a process called Uni Mudra, which we bring the index finger in the inner corner of the eye, middle finger is pressing the eyebrow center, the ring finger is pressing the tip of the nose, little finger is above the upper lip, the thumb goes into the cavity of the ear, you bring your elbows close, keep your back as straight as possible, breathe in from front to back and back to front. You can suck energy from the front and bring it to the back, inhale, then exhale back from the back of your brain into the front. If you keep repeating this, you can experience a release in the brain. The whole frequency of the brain shifts. You can feel a spinning energy in the brain. You can allow the release. And also important aspect of it is there is a lot of tension in the brain. That's because there is an immensely held scenario, a thought which is bothering and is persistent. The easiest way to do is just to tap the left and right at the same time with equal frequency, equal tapping pressure. So this, what happens when you hit with continuous pressure, you will see a small shift in the frequency which eventually can lead you to release. It's like a steam valve which is opening the top. Okay, the steam from here goes out, just like how you have seen a pressure cooker, similar scenario. It just rises and releases the brain. There's also one more important way to release, which is in the frontal lobe. You press just above the eyebrow, right in the center, press it here, hold it pressed, and you can even move it with pressure. This will also is a fantastic way to release the brain. Then there is another aspect which is to press just under the skull. It's called the carotid artery. You press in the carotid artery with both the finger pressure, knuckle is like a hook knuckle pressure. You press in here with all your strength and then rotate the nape region. On the back of the nape, just press in with all your strength and rotate. This is also a very easy way to release the tension. Also another important aspect of this which I wanted to share with all of you is here, just at the edge of the skull is a fantastic release point. This is called ascending reticulated articulation system, ARAS, and this is considered like a consciousness meter of the brain. It rises from the edge of the skull. This is the last bone, is called the atlas bone. From above the atlas bone the skull begins. From there you just draw a straight line. This is the ARAS connection, the consciousness meter of the brain. Hit here with consistency and the edge of the skull. This will release a lot of pressure. Another important way of calibrating the brain, we are calibrating, remember, we're just not overcoming a headache, we are shifting the frequency of the brain. So if you visualize your top of your brain, there's like a pyramid energy, 54 degrees each, forming 108. Okay, so now this pyramid energy, you are now combing the energy. First you can hold your fingers like this, it's easier to understand. The thumbs meet, the little fingers meet, the four fingers meet, rest of them are clasping. So when you put it flat on your head like this, it forms a beautiful pyramid energy. And this, the thumb meets the posterior fontanel called the Shivarandhra. The little finger is on the Nirvana chakra and the frontal lobe. The four fingers meet on the top of the Sahasrara, Padma, and forms a strong pillar energy. And in the center, and pyramid energy overall. So when you do this for about 5 minutes continuously, the deep inhalation, inhale upwards, exhale downwards, and slowly in about 5 minutes time, you release the hands and press the tip of the C7 section where the neck meets the shoulder, and release the neck. There's an important way to release pain in this instrument, which is to move the head sidewards. The more we move sidewards, this will help the ease the pain. First and important, endorphin gets released. The feel good factor, the pain release factor. Serotonin release, the pain releases. Norepinephrine releases, the pain releases. Noradrenaline releases, the pain releases. So the way this whole brain is structured is to give you a sense of well-being, feel good by beautiful chemical balance. The best way to balance the brain is to get these chemicals to release. They're called happy chemicals, pleasure chemicals. Release that. And the most important aspect of it is why there is a headache at all. There is a thought which is been incomplete, unfinished, and that is what is causing us a headache, and even the lack of flow between the pituitary and the pineal gland. Both have to talk to each other. If pituitary releases the serotonin, if the pineal releases the melatonin, the coming together of serotonin and melatonin is crucial to the brain equanimity, balance and flow. And also important is when we have too much of scatter thoughts that come to us, we feel incomplete, and a lot of thinking processes are hurting us because we are not addressing the concept of contentment and happiness. We are focusing on something which we cannot get. So obviously there will be a build up of a negative stress, which is basically coming through from lack of knowing, lack of addressing, lack of completion. So this unrealized aspect, the incomplete aspect, makes us more and more a bit of a struggle, especially with if you treat your brain with nicotine, caffeine, pleasure drugs, which will eventually cause constrictions in the flow of the brain. So the constriction flow can be released more often. The another way to powerful release is to pull the ear side to side and bring the tongue down to its lowest point and roll the eyes to the top. This will directly access the spiritual heart, which is the anterior cingulate cortex. This is called a spiritual heart. There is a beautiful connection between heart and the brain. If heart and brain talk to each other properly, there is a beautiful prana spanda. Every 0.8 seconds, this prana spanda is happening. There is a current from the brain sparking, and there is a coherence between heart and brain. We cannot treat brain in isolation. Most of them treat brain in isolation, and that is the sole cause of our incoherent state, and eventually leading us to a sense of separation and incompleteness, low frequency. So if you put one hand on the top of your heart center, one on top of your Sahasrara, Anahata and Sahasrara both talk to each other, there is a beautiful coherence between the heart and the spiritual heart. Anterior cingulate cortex is a brain rhythm, also heart rhythm. So the coming into a rhythm, bioflow will sort it out. So important aspects of it, you can't ignore the lifestyle. If they sleep well, rest well, the brain will recalibrate itself, restore itself. All the housekeeping happens in the brain. There is a beautiful flow of switching from awake to dream to a deep sleep state. In deep restoration, in deep sleep, the body gets recharged. In REM sleep, which allows the brain to reorganize itself, and in the restive awareness and awakeness, which is possible in Yoga Nidra, you can realign the brain through subconscious awareness. All these are factors contributing to a state of well-being. And if this is sorted, trust me, there is no migraine issues. I've seen many chronic issues being sorted within the shortest possible time just by clicking into alignment. And in the Sampurna Shakti Sadhana series, which we have always been giving to people, we are helping people with that level of calibration, and it truly helps them. I hope this also helps you to understand that you cannot ignore the breathing cycle. Most important struggle for most people, the struggle is that they're not able to calibrate the left and right. So if you press here, right in the center, you'll observe if the left and right are equal or not. If you place one hand here just below the nose, there should be equal flow from the left and the right. If it's not happened, that means there is a misfiring. That means the respiratory apparatus is not aligned and calibrated. This is crucial to our flow. If the left and right are not proper, you could do brain gymnastics but not get the results. So eventually, Nadi Shodhana, left in, right out, right in, left out. This is a process of calibrating this Ida and Pingala. I am just giving you a very short glimpse of it. In another video, we'll possibly give you a deeper aspect of how truly Nadi Shodhana can take you to a higher state of vibrational upliftment. Okay, but important to do is Nadi Shodhan, which is to clarify the nadis. When the left and right are balanced, automatically the brain flow becomes equalized. I feel that this is crucial. You cannot just deal with only one part of the brain. We have to treat the whole brain as one unit and not separations. You don't try to treat hemispheres separately and different areas separately and then come to conclusions. I hope this information helps you. We are always open to guide you through this Sampurna Shakti Sadhana. I thank you very much for watching this.